Let's go to the locks of the week.
Mhm.
We finally had like a good week as a pod again. It's been a few weeks. We had some earlier in the year, but Ashton, you went 1-0. You had one pick. It was LSU minus 30.5 against Georgia State. They covered pretty easily. That improves your record on the season to 16-10-1. I also had a winning week. I went 2-1. My wins were Georgia minus 10 against Tennessee. Very comfortable win there. And the Illinois-Iowa under 31. 28 points scored there, so a win for me. My loss was Michigan minus 19. I just kind of discounted the fact that it was wedged in between Penn State and Ohio State, but took the L on that one. My record on the season is now 26-29. So Ashton, you have the honors in the tee box. Where are you looking for your locks in week number 13, rivalry week?
Okay. Georgia minus 24 against Georgia Tech. On the road against Georgia Tech is interesting. I'm just going to throw a bunch of them out there and we can talk about these. And I am on the Georgia side. Georgia's a freight train right now. They've covered the last 2 weeks, covered by a large margin the last 2 weeks. I think Georgia could come out and absolutely take apart Georgia Tech. Kirby Smart does not like Georgia Tech. He does not like the nerds in Atlanta. I think yes, I would lean. 24 is a big number. I understand that. I would lean Georgia to cover that. Next number that I'm looking at, Kentucky covering the 7, maybe 7.5 if you can get it at Louisville. I think Louisville may win this game outright, but I think it's a very, very close football game. I think Kentucky's going to play spoiler here. Louisville coming off of a fairly close game against Miami, right? And then next week they have the ACC championship. In between, they have just this nasty little team called Kentucky who they have a tendency to do this, right? Like this would not be a surprise. That's another one that I'm looking at. Okay. I don't know if this is fair or not, but Utah covering 21.5 at home at Rice-Eccles against Colorado. Colorado, and I stayed up and watched the entirety of Colorado-Washington State this past Friday night. Again, Pac-12 After Dark, lifer. And, we'll go down on that boat. I stayed up until 2 o'clock watching. It's not the point. That's not what we're getting into. Colorado is not good at the game of football right now.
Right.
Utah is a matchup nightmare for Colorado. What do you think? I'd take Utah to cover 21 points.
My only concern is maybe Utah's offense hasn't looked great, but to be fair, Colorado's defense is pretty terrible. So they could easily cover that. Colorado has this thing this year with the whole circus. Teams treat Colorado like they're playing Georgia. And Georgia can handle it because Georgia is Georgia and they have 90 million 5-stars on their roster. Colorado is not a great football team. It's hard for them to stand up to being everyone's Super Bowl. Like people really want to beat Colorado and they're just not good enough to handle it. So
is this just a salty Colorado guy that's a little bit sour for how the season's ended?
No, I kind of like Colorado. I'm not a fan necessarily, but I'm just telling you, people really want to beat them. Like they really do. And
who does? Who?
Everyone they play against. No one wants to end up on that reality show on Amazon Prime or whatever and be, I don't know. It's every time someone was getting a sack against them last week, they were doing the watch celebration that Shedeur Sanders was doing. I'm just saying
they bring that on themselves, though. They brought that on difference by puffing themselves up the first 3 weeks of the season.
I agree with you. That's why teams want to beat them. I agree completely. And if they would have been a little more low key in their approach, maybe it wouldn't be coming back to haunt them quite this much. But it definitely is at this point.
They're getting dump trucked. I mean, Washington State absolutely took them apart last week. And I think they scored 42 points in the first half. Like they absolutely, took them to the woodshed. Colorado they're a unique team because they do have good talent on the edges, but that offensive and defensive line have absolutely regressed.
They're bad.
They have regressed. They are not a good unit on either side of the ball in the trenches. So, and then Utah is always going to be physical. I guess maybe that was kind of my point, is that Utah is always going to be super physical up front, at home, coming off of a fairly bad loss, needing to get back on a good track for Utah. So, if you don't love it, I'm probably not going to lock it up. It was just something I was thinking about. What do you have on the docket?
Yeah, so I have a lot written down. Two of them you already mentioned. I want Georgia minus 24. All the reasons you said. If this was a nameless opponent on Georgia Tech's level, I might not do it just because I would think Georgia might overlook them. Georgia really wants to dominate Georgia Tech. Like that is it's a weird rivalry that I've gotten to know better as my wife is from Georgia and I have friends in Georgia. These two schools really hate each other, even though it's like if Michigan would really hate Rutgers. Like it's kind of the same idea. Like as far as the level of the teams. And I apologize to Georgia Tech fans, but that's kind of what it is. And Rutgers is bowl eligible this year. Like Georgia
they're
Tech,
a good
so
team.
that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I'm also on Kentucky +7 against Louisville. To me, this feels like a pick 'em.
Yeah.
Kentucky would really enjoy to end their rivals' chance at going to the playoff. So yeah, I'm taking that. It's just too many points for me. I'm on the Ohio State Michigan under 46.5.
Ooh, that's low though, isn't it?
It's not
I
a
understand
high
what you're
number.
saying. I understand what you're saying.
It's not a high number, and I feel like they've gone over this recently.
Right.
I just don't trust either offense right now, and I really trust both defenses. So this game to me feels like 24-20 or something like that.
Okay.
So not under by much, but I like the under there. I'm taking the LSU over 39.5. Not the total between both teams with Texas A&M. I'm not taking them to cover against Texas A&M. LSU is trying to get Jaden Daniels the Heisman, and he is on an absolute tear. Texas A&M won this game last year, so I don't think LSU is overlooking them. They're going to have the pedal to the metal the whole 4 quarters, so I'm taking LSU to score at least 40 points in this game. I got more, but what are your thoughts on what we've got so far?
That's an interesting one. I was on that whole jump on LSU because they're just going to be a points freight train. They're pretty open with it. Like we're going to try to get Jaden the Heisman. Like that's what we're going to do, and we're going to throw it around. And that's just kind of out there at this point. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. I do think A&M's actually a pretty good football team up front, and I think that could get a little interesting for LSU. I do. I think. Yeah, I'm going to stay away from all of that. I was on LSU a week ago and they made me money, but hey, it's what have you done for me lately? And I don't think that they're going to do a whole lot for me this week. So I'm just going to stay away from them. I'm not going to bet against you, but I would lean slightly A&M to cover the 10.5. Like that would just be a slight lean for me, and keep this one close.
Yeah, I don't like the spread or anything personally. I just think LSU is going to score 40 points or more. So they might allow 50. Who knows? But.
Right. Any thought on the Bama-Auburn? Bama favored by 14 or 14.5. I can get it at 14 right now at my book. But
yes,
a lot of 14.5s out there.
You're probably going to be on the opposite side. I'm taking Alabama minus 14.5 to cover that spread. I'm trying to take my. I'm trying to just follow my brain instead of my heart on this one and just say Alabama is clearly better than Auburn. Auburn can't score on Alabama. I just don't know how they're going to score. And Bama, they're probably not scoring 45 points, but they have figured enough out on offense. They're gonna run the ball with Jalen Milroe some. He's going to throw some deep balls against this Auburn secondary that I don't think is all that great, by the way. I think Alabama covers the 14.5 on the road, even though it's the Iron Bowl, even though it's at Jordan-Hare. I just think Alabama is clearly 3 touchdowns better.
Any chance that they're overlooking and looking ahead to the Georgia game next weekend?
Oh yeah,
and not paying attention to the Auburn team who just got smoked by New Mexico State.
There is a chance, except for the fact that it's the Iron Bowl and it's their rival. So I think they're going to come to play. I got some more plays. You tell me what you think.
Okay.
I'm looking at Virginia Tech -3 against Virginia. Virginia is a spicy team, but this feels like it feels like Virginia Tech kind of has a mental edge in this rivalry where Virginia has upset them in past years. They have
Mhm.
won this game. But to me, it feels like Virginia Tech, they still kind of have that big brother against little brother thing. And the fact that it's only 3, I like Virginia Tech to win this game and cover. Maybe not by much, but I like them in this game.
Okay.
I'm also looking at Missouri -7 against Arkansas.
I saw that. That's low. That's
It's
really
low.
low. Yeah.
Sam Pittman, it sounds like he'll be back for Arkansas. They've kind of come
Correct.
out and said that.
Correct.
I still don't think Arkansas is very good, and I think Missouri is really good. So give me Mizzou to cover that 1 touchdown spread. And again, the Mizzou -7 and Virginia Tech -3, those feel like they could very easily be pushes, but
Mhm.
I like the chances of them covering versus not covering. So
Mhm.
yeah. And then I have one more that I'm looking at. What do you think about Boston College +9 against Miami? They host Miami. Miami has nothing left to play for. They're already bowl eligible. They're 6-5. They're going bowling.
Mhm.
You cannot convince me Miami's going to get up to play Boston College.
This is a Boston College team that lost by 2 scores to Pitt last week.
Was that just this last week?
Well, last game. It may have been. Yeah, you know, right. You're right. I think that was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, fair enough.
So I'm looking at Boston College's schedule. You're right. That was just this past Thursday. They did lose to Pitt. Man, that makes me maybe not like it. And then the week before that, they lost to Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
I'll pull that
Okay.
one off. I have a lot of plays. I'll get rid of
Okay.
that. That's fine.
I'm going to stick with 2 and just be a disciplined better here. I'm taking Georgia to cover 24 points. I'm going to see real quick if I can shop it and get a little bit lower. And I'm also going to take Kentucky to cover the 7 on the road. Same as you. I think we have lock agreement on both of those. Am I right?
Yes, we do. Yep.
So those it is that a yeah. I hopefully that's not too vanilla, but those lines felt a little off. I think Vegas is maybe planning on Georgia taking a little bit kind of foot off the gas mentality, and I don't think that's going to happen against Georgia Tech.
Yeah. All right. So those are your plays. I agree with you on those. And my other locks are Missouri -7, Ohio State, Michigan under 46.5, LSU over 39.5, Virginia Tech -3, Alabama -14.5. So those are big week for me. Trying to go out with a bang.